All right. So thank you again, once again, for doing this. So now, if you could just, for first question, just briefly describe your job role and what it entails, and what do you enjoy most about your role?
Yeah. So, as the CEO of the Los Angeles Dodgers Foundation, it's my job to essentially make the chief executive decisions. The reality is, I'm responsible for our team that collectively works to improve, underserved community conditions in the areas of homelessness, education, healthcare, and social justice.
Mhm.
Our work is really to ensure that every Angelino has the opportunity to thrive. And day to day, I get to lead that work. So essentially, I lead a team of 10 full time individuals who are focused on direct running of programs as well as funding about 100 different nonprofits throughout Los Angeles. And it is my job to oversee the executive decision making behind all of that, to be the visionary who oversees our strategic plan and ensures that we are aligned in everything that we said we're going to do, that there's a so what behind everything that we're going to do, that we measure and evaluate it all appropriately, and that we're obviously driving to the right outputs and outcomes for the communities that we serve.
Mhm. Kind of
What
going
I
off.
love most about my job, to answer that question, what I love
Yeah.
most about my job is that everything that I do on a daily basis is impacting the life of a youth, a family, or another adult in this great city of Los Angeles. I love that I get to support and be an advocate for so many Black and Brown communities who are often living in the shadows, people who are often ignored or living in communities that have not been celebrated. I love that part of my job.
That is awesome. And kind of going off that, what would you say has been one of the greatest highlights of your career?
Wow. So while 2020 was a very dire, challenging year for so many people because of the
Mhm.
pandemic, the Dodgers Foundation was awarded the 2020 ESPN Sports Humanitarian Award of the Year. And while I will say that I don't do the work for recognition, and nor does my team, the award coming in that particular year, in that moment of time, summer of 2020, was a real validation for us, true recognition for what we've built the last 8 years. But it was the driving force and sort of the momentum that we needed to keep doubling down, to be on the ground in local communities here in Los Angeles, helping our youth and their families, providing food via the various drive-through distributions that we've done, books, education, supplies, fitness and sports equipment, and more, even just simple PPE to help our families get through the trying last couple of months.
That's awesome, especially like you said, everything going on with 2020 is an interesting year, and that's just great that you guys are keep consistently helping the community, and especially including PPE and everything you guys do. And
Yes. And
in
then there
terms,
was an icing on the cake was winning the World Series a
of
few months after
course,
that. So,
of
like I say, a
course,
challenging year, nonetheless, and also a year of great celebration.
of course, winning it, and hopefully entering a second back-to-back title
Yeah,
season.
defend the title.
Because so now transitioning wow, into character traits, what would you say are some character traits and slash or skills that have been the most useful throughout your sports career?
Yeah. So for me, I think it's been hard work, leadership, perseverance, resilience. I think a
Mhm.
sports career is very much parallel to being on a sports team. You're somewhat sometimes in a clubhouse or in a locker room, and you're all contributing towards the greater good of what's going to happen on the field and off the field during that particular year. And so I think being flexible and fluid, right? Understanding, losses and wins, and taking those losses and turning them into great learning experience, and taking those wins and celebrating them, but, remaining humble and preparing for the next one. And so I liken it to, being on a sports team and, having a sense of routine and understanding sort of the ebbs and flows of any particular season and what comes in and around that.
Mhm. Absolutely. Now, if you had to do anything different along your career, what would it be and why?
Yeah, I would spend more time on self care. When I
Mhm.
talk to young men and women right now, one of the things that I really encourage people to do from a very early age is to think about balance, and to think about how are you taking care of you and make that part of your routine. I think when you get older, it becomes increasingly hard to implement self-care into a rigorous schedule or rigorous routine. And so I
Mhm.
would just have been thinking about things like self-care, as much as have always been thinking about hard work and resilience and all of those things early on. I mean, if we're not good to ourselves, we're no good to anybody.
Mhm.
And it's just, we're in this fast-paced world now. Technology is king. Now, even with the pandemic, a lot of us, we don't have the opportunity to slow down, and we're sort of working 24/7, 365 days a year. And so having that item or that thing that you do, that resource you go to, those people you lean on. I just wish that I had spent a little bit more time focused on that early on, getting so much better at it now. But as I said, it's
Mhm.
just harder to implement as you're older and more advanced in your career.
Absolutely. Now, in terms of any specific like routines or tips you have in regards to self-care, because I know that going off of that is definitely a huge topic and something that indeed younger people should utilize, especially now with the pandemic, and something that everyone in period should use.
I would say we have to disconnect. And it doesn't matter what you do once you disconnect, but you have to make the choice to disconnect. Social media, television, so many things have taken over our lives. And so the opportunity to like connect with nature, whether that's a walk, a run, a stroll on the beach. We live in this great city. Thankfully, we have, great free outdoor activity that we can participate in. And even for me, disconnecting to just be 100% with my family, right? So I encourage people, whether, with your spouse or your children, or again, just friends, laughing, talking, those things that don't require technology. I think it's really important to disconnect. We're a world right now of multitaskers where we do multiple things at one time. And for me, I mean, it doesn't mean that I have to have a spa weekend per se, but I just really need to disconnect. And that might be, vegging out on the couch, marathoning a TV show or something like that. But just the opportunity to like think about nothing or think about the things that are all outside of your workspace. I think that's very important.
Definitely, and thank you for that. I just celebrated my birthday weekend, so
Oh, happy
disconnecting.
birthday. So what
Thank
day was
you.
your birthday?
It was the 26th, so the Friday.
I'm February 20th. So we are both,
Okay.
and I just had a birthday
Yes.
too. Yes,
Thank
that's
you.
awesome.
Happy belated.
Same to you. Yes.
Thank you. Now, transitioning into athletes, who is an athlete that you admire and why?
I feel like I have to answer the question with two, and they're both former athletes, but legends, one living and one who is deceased, but a legend nonetheless. I'm going to first say Jackie Robinson. I have to say Jackie Robinson because he has had such a real impact on my life. I've come full circle from being a Jackie Robinson Foundation scholarship recipient when I was in college and making that connection with Rachel and Sharon Robinson, Jackie's wife and daughter, and the full foundation and everything that it afforded me to now being the CEO of what I call Jackie's team, the Los Angeles Dodgers. And so I feel like he has this interesting underpinning throughout my career, and he's just been in the back of my mind when I think about the impact that lives can have on others, right? When I think about the work that we're doing, a lot of it is in the vein of what Jackie did. It's the fight on mentality. It's the do it at all costs. It's breaking barriers. All of those things. I would say that secondly, Billie Jean King. I'm just really riled up by Billie Jean King. She is an amazing living legend. She's done so much for women's sports history, but really women's history in general. Right now, as we've entered March, Women's History Month, I think about her a lot. And I think about how, I'm just so proud that she's an owner of the Los Angeles Dodgers, and that she continues to be this big voice for women everywhere. And she continues to be an educator about women's contributions, honestly, to our country and to our world. And that's really special and that's uplifting. And I think women, we need, individuals like Billie Jean King who are of the sports world, but show the powerful impact that a sports figure can have on a world and on issues, whether that be, while they're playing or after.
Absolutely. Those are both great examples of what they did on and off the field and slash courts. Jackie Robinson,
Absolutely. Yes.
lifetime, and then course in
Yes.
baseball
He
and
played
everything.
multiple football, yes,
Hmm.
yes, yes.
And Billie Jean King, of course.
Oh, tennis legend, but so
Yes.
much more. Yeah.
And it's fitting that she's being honored again with March just happening. So
Yes. Yes.
awesome. So final question is, with this awesome showcase that's coming up this weekend, how would you advise college students, including even myself, to really maximize the sports industry showcase conference?
I would say two things. One, network, 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 network. I
Mhm.
cannot say enough how much the people that I met throughout my education, throughout my career, are very much still a part of my life today. And even those that aren't, they were such contributors at that moment in
Mhm.
time. Talking to people and gaining different tidbits of information, different resources from individuals is so important. Maybe even walk away with a mentor or two if they're an area of interest to you.
Mhm.
I would say, secondly, is be open. There are probably some things that are on the schedule that you may not have any interest in, but check out some of those things that you don't have an interest in. Sometimes, the oddest of moments, and sometimes just sitting in a session or workshop or something like spark something for you, or make a connection to something that you are interested. And so I think, in looking at the schedule and the agenda, don't do the norm,
Mhm.
choose a few things and listen in a little more to some things that you otherwise may not have done.
Absolutely. And it's going to be a fun, exciting weekend and Friday and
Yes,
Saturday.
the schedule looks amazing and
Yes,
packed and great people.
exactly. Packed, jam packed. It's going to be great. LA representing. And thank you again so much for doing this, Nicole.
No, thank you. It's really nice to meet you.